as all 10 teams released their cars ahead of the 2020 season and winter testing is in Catalonia, Formula 1 2020 is within our sight. Now these of course are the testing ahead of Melbourne and the remaining races in the season. One thing has happened before, of course, testing happens, and that is the car launches. Now, we were really anticipating these 10 teams. What were they going to produce ahead of this season? What were they going to produce in the car, the machines that the drivers will be driving to hopefully get them to some good points, podiums, and who, of course, would become the 2020 Constructors World Champions. Now, it's been a busy few weeks for the car launches. Some teams have released the liveries first, then the cars. Some teams have released teasers, different liveries, test liveries. That is a little bit annoying. I would rather someone just release the car with the livery. But of course, we've kind of got through all that melee, and we are here. We've got the 10 teams, 10 liveries, and that's of course what we're going to be doing today. We are going to be talking about, reviewing and giving our thoughts on the liveries and the cars ahead of the season for the 10 teams. Now, on this channel, we did instant reactions of course, all of the 10 teams. Again, as I said, through the melee. Me and Jordan obviously did that for all the teams, and that was kind of instant reactions. And we're not very technical as well, so it's kind of like if it's a pink car, that looks quite pink. And if it was a Mercedes, it looked quite Mercedes. So when we've had a little bit of thought about it, we're going to tell you guys again what we think. But it's not just us two on the camera today. Yeah. We have very special guests with us. It's Mike and Ash from F1 Fanatics. Now, you probably know that name by now. They've been on our channel quite a few times, and they are gaining very much popularity. Great videos, and obviously two great guys. Mike and Ash, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much for the intro, guys. I appreciate that. The friendship's kind of built from there, and so we kind of take up residencies on each other's channels, don't we? It's just like, wait, is it my turn? Is it your turn yet? But thank you for kind of having us on for today.
Yeah, really good to be on yours channel again, and it is almost one of those. We need to do a collaboration, Jordan and Lyle free. I feel that's the way it's going at the moment for us. But it always comes up with really good content, so we will appreciate every opportunity we get with you guys.
Well, thanks for that, chaps. Of course, yeah, anytime we're open for collaborations. I'll say worked with them before. The most recent thing, they launched a YouTuber's draft. Of course, they did a video on their channel about a team and two drivers that would both get. Me and Jordan are competing against each other, and yes, I said against each other. We're not on the same team. So go and check that out video if you haven't already, and find out who we've got as our teams and who we've got as our drivers for this season. But back to this video, as I say, we're going to be talking about the teams now. As we're recording, day 2 is just finishing now. So if you see us kind of darting about, that's for that reason. We've seen the first red flag as well, but unrelated. So the first team we're going to start with is Haas. Now, Haas were a very strange team. They were supposed to release on the 19th, which was the first day of testing, and they did, with K-Mag and Grosjean technically taken off the top then. But way before that, about 2 weeks before that, we'd already seen the car, the VF20, where the photos came on early February of the 2020 livery. Then the car took to the track beforehand, so really Wednesday was just a complete waste of time. First looks of the car, I'd say, are pretty good. Now, of course, Haas started all the way back in 2016. They are America's team. They kind of wanted to show off red, white and blue colours of what Haas, and of course what they stand is as an organisation. See, back in the US as an automotive company. First look for me from the Haas, of course I did the video, is it does look really, really good. Quite a bold statement by the American team. Now, since 2016, they've been going kind of with a light and a dark side. Of course, starting in 2016, light, dark, and now they're back to kind of more of going back to the original 2016 look. It does look quite stunning. You can see areas of blacking as well. The red being very prominent, especially on the rear wing. Of course, Haas Automotive on the back of the car. Not really much sponsors, but of course that's where Haas want to do. You know, they're a very independent team as well. They don't want to be swarmed with all these sponsors. Obviously, you've got the white nose as well in K-Mag's team numbers as the car was released. So I would say it was a pretty good car. My rating out of 10 for Haas, I'm going to say overall I'm going to give it a 6. So just over halfway. Quite a big change from last year as well. Of course, I did like last year's colour, quite the dark. I think it was more like a dark grey livery, of course, the US flag on the side. But I do like this one. It should be a good one. It should be a standout. And yes, Haas, 6 out of 10 for me. So, Mike, This was the first. Well, actually, firstly, you're wearing a Haas top, so that does work out really well. This was the first indication of F1 in 2020, wasn't it? This was the first thing we were seeing to kind of give us an idea, an inkling of what the season was going to be like moving forward. So when you first saw the livery, which by the way came out, as I say, about 2 weeks beforehand, what did you think? What was your reaction to, as I say, the American livery and obviously the VF20 ahead of the season?
So for me, I think it was taken by surprise. I remember, I think, scrolling through Twitter and Sonny going into meltdown that obviously the Haas livery had been released, and I think it was the race that dropped that exclusive. Obviously, I think there's some old guys from Autosport who've kind of created media. I think it's an internet kind of channel that they're doing on there, but obviously they had the exclusive, which was awesome for them. But yeah, I really like this Haas livery. I think it's gone back to their factory colours. I'm a big one for the liveries being a standout, that you kind of go, you look at that and you go, that's a kind of Haas car, that's a Mercedes, that's a whatever, Ferrari. And I think for me, these colours represent to me that that's a Haas car. And I really like it. I think the gloss finish is really nice. It kind of looks similar to the kind of Porsche WEC kind of colours in terms of that trim, but I think the way that they got everything going oh, sorry, cough there. The way they got everything going, it's really nice. So I'm going to give this livery an 8 out of 10.
Going quite high on that one. Well, funnily enough, with the Haas, we were recording the day before, and I was constantly getting notifications coming up, and it was saying, oh, what is the Haas colour scheme going to be? And one of them that I saw was black and white, and I was thinking that would actually look quite good for a Haas car. I wasn't a fan of last year's livery, and this one, it strikes you more, and it looks more like an F1 car. Last year, it was almost a car that you say, it's almost like as a kid, you're just drawing an F1 car and it's a colour scheme you'd go for. So definitely prefer this to last year, but I agree with Lyle. I'd say 6 out of 10 for this one for me.
I mean, last year's livery, it was all right. Again, a lot of older F1 fans, I suppose, were quite fond of this one because traditionally black and gold is quite a standout livery in the world of Formula One, and quite recently we had it with the Lotus, didn't we? So, and again, even some fans about our kind of generation were like, oh, good to see the black and gold back on an F1 car, but to some fans like with Ash, it didn't really hit with them, maybe down to Rich Energy, I don't know, but I thought there could have been a lot more gold on that. But I'm pleased that they have reverted back. I mean, we kind of guessed that when they cancelled the sponsorship, the logo change as well, and then of course I've seen some pictures of the motorhome being painted and rebranded, so you could say that they were going to go back to the old ways, and I do like it. I really do like the livery, back to the roots essentially, and what Mike was saying there, it's a standard livery for Haas, and I firmly agree. I really do like it. A lot different to what they have been in previous years, because they have went from white, I think it was white, black, like white and red, and it was some grey, light grey in the first year, then dark grey quite recently, and then of course going for full white as well. And I really do like it. I like white in any other car, which, to be fair, we are going to be talking a lot about white cars into this episode, but I'm going to give it a solid 7 out of 10 for the Haas livery this season. Now, next team we'll be talking about is the Mercedes. Now, Mercedes, again, like many other teams, announced that they were going to be releasing their car on a set date. In their case, it was going to be the 14th. However, they decided to release their livery 2 or 3 days earlier, and again announcing a brand new sponsorship with Ineos. I think that's how you pronounce it. Which Ineos, yeah, that's it. So, and they were teasing some hints of red, weren't they, when they were doing like I think there was a guy spraying painting over the camera red, and everyone was like, "Oh, Ferrari colours," and whatever. It was just weird. At first glance, I was a bit like, to be fair, it wasn't that bad, because I did like, of course, the livery is quite similar to last year's. I was a fan of last year's livery. It was a big change from 2018's livery, so I did like it. I'm pleased they did stick with it. Of course, the turquoise kind of colours in 2019 they were like kind of like fade, like had that like fade effect on it. Well, like this year they're more bold and stand out more, and I like that a lot. So I was a big fan of that, and of course I did like the whole like stars at the back. And of course they've got the red star in memory of Nikki, of course, which I really really like. The red on the airbox, it was a bit on the livery launch. I wasn't a fan of it, but now I've seen it on track. It just kind of, I think it works in a way now. I'm kind of used to it. Actually, in a way, I didn't even notice it when I was watching some of the action just before. So I think it'd be one of those things where, I don't know, you might see it every so often, but eventually you'll just forget about it and you just see the Mercedes car how it is. But for me, I'm going to give it the same as the Haas, the 7 out of 10. I would have given it more if it was a brand new livery, but the fact that I did like it last year and now it's just the same this year, it's like it didn't really get us excited, but it didn't really disappoint at the same time. So I'm just going to give it a 7 out of 10. Guys, Ash, Mike, what are you thinking of the Mercedes livery? Fans of it? Are you like don't really like it that much?
This is one that we've discussed quite a bit, because last year the one thing I said that was quite striking with the Mercedes was the red halo that they put on at Monaco in memory of Niki Lauda. So when the Ineos partnership was announced and there was the hints that they were going to go for a bit more red within the livery itself, we both thought it would be a bit more striking in terms of how the red was used. And in all honesty, my view is they could have been more bold with it. So they have used it on the airbox and then on the end plates for the front wing, but there's not really a lot else there. For me, you look at it and you just think it's a slight improvement from last year, but not enough. I'm going to go a 5 for this. There's too many similarities to last year's livery, and I think they could have been a lot bolder with the use of the red, especially as it's not their title partner, Ineos, but they are having a large input in the Mercedes team in terms of a sponsor, so they could have been there could have been more striking aspects with the red throughout.
For me, with the Mercedes, I quite like it, but it's not going to be a standout one because of those similarities, but it is an iconic look now. You know, silver on an F1 car is related to Mercedes in some way. Back in the McLaren days when they were the engine supplier, obviously you had the silver incorporated into the car there, and then now obviously since they've become a works team, it is just kind of been a mainstay and they've made silver their own. So you're never going to expect them to stray away from that. What I really like is the kind of teal, and I really like the teal is kind of almost like a matte line, and it's really quite thick, and I quite like that. And what I noticed actually, I was watching testing today, is around the wheel rims there's like a teal trim that you can see as it goes round, and that's actually quite cool and quite nice as it goes along. The Ineos is just kind of expected for me. It's not great, I agree with Ash, it probably could have been used better, but they are kind of quite a major sponsor for them. They're a new one that they were announcing, that kind of very distinct dark red. Looking into it, I think in another sports team that Ineos sponsor, they play in that kind of, the whole shirt is that red. So you're always going to get something there. For me, it's a solid 7 out of 10. It's nothing kind of spectacular, but it's still a very good, professional and nice looking livery.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're touching on what they had said. So Ineos, obviously, are a cycling team, pro cycling team, and coming from a cycling background, I was really happy to see it on the car. But just to see them in another sport is great. I mean, there's been a little bit of some kind of little, cycling Formula 1 partnerships in the past, but this is a really big one. So as I say, I mean, to see them, firstly, like on the Monday when I was watching the live stream, to see Ineos with Mercedes was incredible. Obviously, again, the British team, Ineos as well, they are one of, if not the best kind of pro cycling teams, and the one that you might have all heard of. Obviously, it produced the Tour de France winner last year, Geraint Thomas. He was an Ineos rider, obviously changed from Team Sky. So I was happy to see them with the car. I mean, I agree with all the other points that have been said. It's maybe a little bit kind of like dipped and dabbed. There's a little bit on the front wing, a little bit on the rear wing, and obviously on the exhaust. It might not tie into the silver kind of look obviously it is a maroon red colour. That's what's on the shirt and site and things like that. So that's like their colours. It might not be the best look, but I'm just happy to see them as a title sponsor. I mean, it might just be me, and obviously for any other cycling fans out there, it might just be me liking, Ineos being with Mercedes. Apart from that, as Mike said, it is just very, it's Silver Arrows. It's always known as that. And actually touching on what Ash said, I agree. The Halo for Monaco was the best Mercedes. It looked amazing. It really, really did. But of course, obviously, that was a change to obviously honour Niki Lauda. Apart from that, it kept very much the same kind of thing. I was maybe expecting more of a darker kind of Mercedes, like more like dark silver. I loved how it faded into dark going into the rear wing, and of course, like that kind of light blue kind of Petronas like hint, on the bottom of the car. So I'd say it was pretty good. Mercedes, if I wasn't a cycling fan, I wasn't an Ineos fan, I would probably say lower, but I'm going to say a solid 7 because I would say that is pretty decent, that car. And obviously I just like how the partnership is. Anyways, moving on of course to the rivals of Mercedes, Ferrari, going from maroon red to scarlet red. Now they released their car on the Tuesday, the day after Mercedes launched their livery, and Jordan did this one. Loved this one. This was done in Italy, near Maranello. It was done with bands. It was done in an opera house. It was pure Italian. It was just amazing. It really was a massive spectacle. It showed how well and kind of how well received Ferrari are in Italy. It was absolutely incredible to watch. It was live on Sky Sports as well. I didn't like it how they dubbed someone over it to talk English. Now, I don't speak Italian, but I just thought you're robbing this, what's known as one of the best languages in the world, of like this guy or this woman was doing it. But anyways, that was it. So, but it was all on Sky Sports, all live, and it was all done as one. So you saw the brand new Ferrari car and the livery, the SF1000. Now last year it was called the SF90. There's rumours that next year it's going to be called the SF91, obviously going off 90. But this year celebrates Ferrari's 1000th Grand Prix, which is now, because of the change of China, I believe it's supposed to be Monaco. Which obviously, if it is Monaco, 2020 Monaco Grand Prix, that is obviously Charles Leclerc's home race, a budding Ferrari driver, who I did put in second place. So I think that's absolutely massive. And to celebrate that occasion, Ferrari give us exactly the same car as last year. No, I'm joking, of course, it was a brand new car, but the livery, very much bland, very much the same. Scarlet red, Ferrari, I think Sebastian said it was supposed to be lighter than last year. Obviously, there was a few little changes, of course, like the numbering has changed, different colours. But apart from that, not really much change. Again, Ferrari, I knew they were going to stay with red, but I was expecting a little bit more of a change. The addition of like the Italian colours, obviously, which they had in 2017, one of the best looking Ferraris in my opinion, with the shark fin and the no halo. That looked amazing. Back then, obviously, they had the colours of the Italian flag, green, white and red. They had a bit of hints of white, even hints of black for Mission Win Now, but this year just looked quite bland. And that's why overall I'm going to give my voting for Ferrari as a 4 out of 10. In terms of the actual look of the car, it wasn't too bad, but no change from last year, and I was expecting a lot more. So Mike, of course, you're a Ferrari fan. What were you thinking when you saw the car, which is going to celebrate its 1000th Grand Prix as a team, Ferrari, this year, and obviously possibly could be Charles Leclerc's home race?
My initial thought, I agree with you. The show behind it, this was by far the best car reveal. If car reveal was going to happen, they need to be like Ferrari did it, because it was over the top, it was exuberant, it was a massive show, and the big countdown to the car reveal. That's what a car reveal should be. It felt like a lot of the teams this year had kind of pinched money on it, and kind of it was almost done as an afterthought, but Ferrari were like, no, we're going all in on this, and I did appreciate that. The car itself, I was initially disappointed because it did look quite similar to last year, and as soon as I saw their overalls were leaked with a bit more black, I was personally really hoping for a kind of late 80s, early 90s Ferrari with the kind of main body in that darker red, and then a black front wing and a black tail wing. I think that would have looked really cool, and it would have been a really kind of nice change up on the Ferrari. As it stands, I don't really like the numbers. The new numbers are changed. I don't like how the Italian flag things are kind of in short little blocks, and they're kind of almost hidden. It almost, like Ferrari for me, a loud and proud Italian, and it's kind of, they're not subtle. That's the kind of thing I'd expect to see on a Renault car, where a little bit more artistic. in terms of that front. I'd expect Ferrari to be like, we're Italian, we're proud of our heritage, bam, slap bang, we're incorporating the Italian flag into it this way. So for me, I still like the matte red. I liked the livery last year. For me, it hasn't changed much from there. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 because I do like it, but obviously it's not higher because I was disappointed overall by it.
I agree with Mike in terms of the actual release and of like the whole show behind it. Now, if someone was to say car reveal in terms of a Ferrari, that's the sort of reveal that you would come up with. You would go over the top, make everything based around that one thing. I think this year we've had quite a lot where new sponsors coming in have been a focus of a car reveal as well as the livery itself. But with that, it was, this is Ferrari, this is the car we've got, and it was solely that one thing. And that's, I think, the thing with Ferrari, that I'm not a fan of the livery. It, as Lyle said, it's the SF1000 because it's going to be their 1000th Grand Prix. Why not go a little bit bold with it? Even if it was something simple as going from the matte to a gloss finish or something, just to make it stand out as this is that car. To me, it doesn't really say anything different about Ferrari, so I'm staying low on this one, and I'm going to go I'm going to go the same as with the Mercedes because there's not been enough of a change. So I will say 5 out of 10 for it.
Yeah, I mean, shock horror, the Ferrari is red. I mean, there was loads of jokes circulating around social media beforehand. Or what colours the Ferrari are going to be, and of course, shock horror, it's red. Yeah, like the car was pretty much, it is more or less on the look terms, it is the same. Of course, the livery is the same. They did change the numbers again. I'm not a fan of them, to be fair. I think I would wish that if the numbers were like in like a simpler font, maybe even black, that could work, because on the rear of the car last year, it had that like kind of like black little square thing on the shark fin. That's where you had the numbers, and on top of the numbers, you had like the representative drivers' country flags. Like for Seb, you had Germany, and for Charles, you had Monaco. And I really like that effect. But this year, they don't have that. It's just a retro kind of 80s, 90s kind of look with the numbers, and I'm like, I don't know, they're just too much. They're just there, and it's really, really annoying. Or like when I'm watching the cars, they just like stand out to you, and it's like, it's a bit bright, just dim it down a bit, mate. But overall, I think the worst saying that the Ferrari is a lot darker than it was the previous years, and I think you can kind of see that when it is out on track. But really, they might have a special livery coming out for the 1000th for their 1000th Grand Prix, which I don't know if it is going to be Monaco, because it was going to be Monaco with China, but it might be with Canada, unless they change something around with the calendar, put another race in that where China's supposed to be, but I really doubt it. But would be cool if it is Monaco, and I think they might come up with a special livery. But yeah, nothing really much going by it. But Seb was talking quite highly about like the aero aspect of it, like the stuff that you really can't see is a lot different. So, but obviously we're judging this on the livery perspective. But really, it's a bit like, yeah, like, all right, it's red, but there's nothing. They haven't really done much to it. Could have done some more time in the hardware department. So I'm just going to give it a plain and simple 5 out of 10. Next up is Red Bull. Now, unfortunately, there was no test and livery from Red Bull this year. In previous years, they had that like zebra effect, the black and white one in 2015. Then they had the blue and black. Then they had like the red, purpley kind of colour last year. So they were pretty nice, but there was no real test and livery. As like I said, they just did a few laps at Silverstone, released some images of the car. And to be fair, it wasn't going to be anything different. The overall look of the car, it looks a lot similar. I mean, the nose cone's a bit slimmer, and you have that little like kind of like fork thing where like the crash nose is like the little, what is it called, the nostril. So apart from that, it's very much similar. So I'm just going to keep it short and sweet for this one, because there is literally nothing different with the livery. Of course, there isn't going to be. It's a Red Bull. It's going to be the same colours no matter what. So I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I'm just going to give it a plain 5 out of 10. Nothing amazing about it. It's not terrible, because I do like the Red Bull livery overall, even in the previous years, but you're not going to do much with it, are you? So I'm just going to keep it simple. 5 out of 10. Ash, what are you saying?
I'm going to agree with you and keep it short and sweet as well. 5 out of 10, it's the same. And considering it's Red Bull, we were discussing today watching it, you could try and like incorporate some sort of ball design onto the car other than just slapping logos on it and going for a dark blue, which is pretty much the same as they always go for. So 5 out of 10 because it's pretty much exactly the same.
For me, I'm going to rate it a bit higher than you guys. I think with no testing livery this year, it makes me appreciate even more. They were obviously the first team to kind of go for that matte look on the grid, and for me, it's one of the most photogenic cars. When I was at Silverstone at 2018 and taking pictures of them, it was some of my favourite photos that I took from the day with the Red Bull. I think it just is a really kind of photogenic and kind of stunning livery, and I've spoken about it from before, it kind of having that identity. When I look at that car, I know exactly who it is, I know exactly it's Red Bull. I think they do a great job. It's just because they haven't changed it. In this case, it's if it ain't broke, don't fix it type of thing. So for me, it's going to be an 8 out of 10 as well. I think it is my favourite out of the top 3 liveries.
Wow, well, that's a high rating there. 8 out of 10, wow. I agree. I mean, of course, obviously my team, I wasn't expecting them to change loads about it, but I will say though is that when I made the reaction video and I saw photos of the RB16, which by the way no one had really called that, it just said images of the Red Bull. I was literally searching through Twitter for about half an hour to has that car actually changed? Or am I just going to be an absolute muppet? Am I going to make a video about the RB16 and go, that's the brand new RB16? And then someone will go, nah, Lyle, it's the RB15. I'm like, really? But you know what though, that's the thing though, you forgive me for thinking that, because there was absolutely no change whatsoever. There was absolutely no change. Next year, when Aston Martin leave Red Bull, of course that's when we might see changes. I would like a little bit more, I don't know, just additions of this and that and the other, because at least other teams have made, small changes. I would say Red Bull haven't. I agree with Ash and Jordan. I'm not going to give them a high mark, but I agree with Mike, and obviously because they're my home team, I have to, give them a good mark. So I'm going to say 6 out of 10 for Red Bull. Just not really any change. They did it during private testing at Silverstone, a shakedown, so I'd say it was pretty good. Obviously, they were technically the team first on to test the car. Not much changing, but I think obviously, as Mike said, a good photogenic car. And yes, if it isn't broke, don't. Yeah, Red Bull are just they are the actual colours of Red Bull, so don't change whatsoever. Anyways, moving on to the next team, which is McLaren. Now, again, like Ferrari, they did theirs live on Sky Sports F1 in English this time, in Woking in the McLaren Technology Centre, ran by Sky Sports pundits, and obviously Simon Lazenby was the main guy heading it up. Lando and Carlos were there, the main guys, and it was supposed to be a big spectacle. And it was great to see. They rolled the car out straight away, so of course, again, like all the other teams, there was no waiting about. And it was the same almost. Now, McLaren, so I'd done all the other ones, and McLaren, I said, were the team that could have changed a lot of things. Ferrari, red, shocker. Red Bull, same colours. Mercedes, silver. And McLaren could be the team to change anything. In the last 3 years, they've had 3 different livery changes. They've gone for different colours. They've gone for, I think it was a dark yellow and then kind of a goldy imprint, black and grey. And they've changed everything, really, since 2014. They've changed the colours every single year. This year just went back to the same kind of colour that they had last year. But if you remember last year's car, they had kind of triangles and kind of a bit of a mismatched kind of fading into blue. This one just looks like a tidier version of that. Now, I know I said that it was good on the instant reaction, but now I'm thinking it just looks naff. And it looks like a car that... it looks like...
Sorry. So I apologise, lads. You've just got my cat Thea's bum basically on the camera in terms of our end. So that's why we've cracked up laughing in terms of that. Not because you said anything particularly funny, Lyle, although you are a funny guy. But yeah, apologise for anyone at home who's just had to witness that. Maybe you guys have cut that out.
Well, yeah. Well, there you go. You get more in this show. Anyways, so Lando and Carlos are, 2 young guys and, very flamboyant. So I was thinking that they'd make more of a flamboyant car, not something that, like just looks like a middle-aged man who's got no, address sense or adventure about him. He's made this car, nothing about it, and I'm going to give it a very low score. The lowest I'm going to give I've given a car so far, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 10 because I'm not impressed by that McLaren at all. So Mike, McLaren, I mean, as I say, they could have gone in any direction. They've got two great drivers, Lando and Carlos, who are very flamboyant themselves. What did you think when you saw that car? It just looks, I mean, what did you think?
Well, I'm going to disagree with you, Lyle. I actually quite like the McLaren, and I think Ashley quite likes it as well. Yeah. So it's quite funny. For me, the McLaren have made that papaya themselves, and I like that blue. I like it. Been watching it on testing the past couple of days, and it kind of looks, for me, stunning on track. That kind of mix of matte and then the kind of glossy finish of the blue. Obviously, I think a lot of people know that I'm an Alonso fan, and from his Renault days, it has kind of almost similarities to the throwback of kind of the early 2000s Renaults with the blue and yellow, and obviously the yellow is just replaced by the papaya. And it's quite nice actually how they've incorporated quite a bit of bare carbon fibre, which kind of looks quite nice. So I genuinely quite like the look. And again, they're making that papaya quite iconic to McLaren. And for me, it's been a gradual progression year on year with the papaya, how they've introduced it, and it's certainly the last 2 years have been the best for me, and it was kind of the best. I think it's my favourite out of the current papaya ones. So interesting that one, Ash.
I don't know whether to feel offended or not. Only because Lyle said about the fact that it looks like a middle-aged man with no dress sense. But I've just seen Carlos Sainz in the team wear on testing with the blue bottoms and the papaya top, and it actually looks really cool. Yeah, I would wear that.
It doesn't fit the car.
So I don't know if to feel offended with that one, but going back to the livery itself. When Mike and I were discussing this video yesterday...
Oh God, I don't think I gave it a rating. It's my favourite one, 9 out of 10.
Oh God.
Anyway, going back to with what I was saying, when we were talking about yesterday, I said this was my favourite livery. It has changed slightly from watching testing and seeing things on camera, but it is still up there. I think the contrast between the papaya and the blue looks really good on the car. But... yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's one of the better liveries that's out there.
Well, of course, me being a McLaren fan, I would normally give it... I should give it a 10 out of 10 really and just leave it at that, but I definitely want to talk about it. Certainly, it is a good livery, I'm not going to lie. Controversial opinion, I preferred last year's livery.
Yeah, I agree.
I really... but I'm not going to criticise this year's livery. Now, in 2018, I hated that livery. The papaya orange, nice. The little blue shark fin, hated it. It looked bland, boring, and I was like, I hope McLaren go away from the blue and maybe go with a black or a white, perhaps. I don't know. But when I seen last year's livery, I was like, wow, that is really nice. The blue front wing, the blue rear, of course, rear wing, and of course it had the little triangles like fading in from the blue and the orange. It looked stunning, and I absolutely loved it. And I was hoping and praying that they were going to follow suit with other teams and stick with that same concept. They didn't. I do like it. It's better than 2018's, but I prefer 2019's. But it is a nice livery. I like the matte. The blue, how the blue fades into the black on the rear as well, and the top. It is nice. It's more organised. It's more smarter as well. It's still got some blue in the rear wing as well. So overall, it is a pretty car, definitely. And of course, like I said, McLaren joining on the matte bandwagon, which is a lot of words to say. But I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I do like it. But if it was last year's livery, I would be giving it a 10 out of 10 straight away. So next up is Alfa Romeo. Now, Alfa Romeo, however, like Red Bull didn't release a testing livery, Alfa Romeo did. They did a few laps in at their test track. I can't remember the name of it. Fiorina. What's the test? What track did they did the shakedown at?
Fiorina.
That's the one I couldn't remember off the top of my head there. Of course, similar to last year, Valentine's Day kind of special livery. Released their proper livery in testing. It's lovely, very very nice. Of course, Alfa Romeo, they were never going to go anywhere like anything different to what they have in the previous years. They have kind of incorporated more of the red. In 2018, it was just the engine cover. 2019, they added in the red halo, which was very nice. And now this year they've got. Last year, I think they had black on the front of the on the side of the front wing, the front nose cone, and now this year it's red all the way down. So the putting in more and more red. However, it is going to get dock points because it is red and white, and as you know on this channel, anything that's red and white, it gets dock points. Any relation to Sunderland, it's getting dock points. End of story. No, to be fair, it is very very nice. I like the way how you've got I think you've got red, instead of having just plain red here and white there, it's kind of similar to what McLaren's had. It's lines of red and white here and there. So overall, it is pretty nice. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. Guys, I know you guys like Alfa Romeo, so I think you're going to speak pretty highly of this one. What's your ratings of the Alfa Romeo car? Or even, would you prefer it if Alfa Romeo went for the testing livery that they brought out when they were doing the shakedown?
I actually really like the livery. I like the fact that the red is actually, when it's on camera and going around the track, it's very vibrant and it stands out. I like the fact that they've actually gone a bit more with the red and trying to incorporate more aspects to the car. Last year, it was almost, we'll put some red here, a little bit more there, and they're now, it feels as if they've thought about it a lot more. I'll be perfectly honest, I haven't seen the testing livery for Alpha. I've been a little all over the place with things the last few weeks. So I'm not going to compare it to anything, but for this one I will give it 6.5. It can be, there are ways in which it could be better, but it's better than others that are out there.
I love the red. I think it's changed this year to a kind of more glossier and kind of deep dark red, like Ash says. It really stands out. I really like that colour and the way that it kind of, it kind of almost staggers onto the back. There's kind of break into the white type of thing where it was kind of cordoned off almost before. But I think it's a real standout red. It's really nice. The thing that I desperately cry out for Alpha that I think would make them really stand out and be proud of their Italian heritage is just to have a green trim along it somewhere. Just along that front nose, maybe to the back of the reds, I think would be absolutely kind of stunning on that car and be really good. But I really like this livery. It's one of my favourite ones. That red's kind of gone up, so it's 8 out of 10 for me with the Haas.
Yeah, I mean, well, firstly, I did again on Valentine's Day when they made that livery. It didn't look great. It had kind of a heart layout for the badge, and obviously I wasn't really sure what was going to be happening. Were they going to be using that and tested? But the actual car, the C39, was obviously out, so we had to talk about that. Then, of course, they brought out the actual livery when Gio and Kimi launched the car on the first day of testing. It did look nice. It looked different than last year. Now, I know obviously it was going red and white. Alfa Romeo were there, Stelvio, and some of the other sponsors were staying on the car. Of course, the introduction now of a few more sponsors, big ones, Orlen, which obviously is, I don't know who origins they are, but of course they came with Robert Kubica. I think they might be Polish. Obviously they're related to Poland and Robert Kubica himself.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously a big tribute factor. Obviously they have more incorporated some kind of darker colours to support them. It is more of a darker red, takes over more of the car. I think the thing that I love about it the most is just the logo on the back. It's a much bigger logo in solid white. It's just kind of the cross and that little snake emblem. It looks really nice. And I would actually disagree a little bit with Mike. I think it looks very Italian itself. And I think anything else with the green, I know that is the Italian colours, but I think anything other than that would go against it. So I do really like it. And unlike what I said with McLaren, I'm going to give this one a high score, and I'm going to say this is going to be the highest score I've given of 8.5 out of 10 because, as I say, I'm very impressed about it. So the next team is a big one because this is a brand new team, or a brand new name even. No, we don't know anything about this livery, and this is a team that could have gone in any direction whatsoever. and that of course is the formally. Well, I don't know, what's that word? Formula? That's not right. Anyway, it used to be Toro Rosso, and now it is the brand new name of the Austrian clothing line, a subsidiary of Red Bull Racing, of course, which is called Alpha Tauri. Now, they launched in a very unique style. This was a live stream on YouTube as well. They launched all the way down in Austria, just outside of obviously where the Red Bull base is in Spielberg, with a bit of a fashion show. Now, I said to Jordan, I said, if Lewis Hamilton, the height of what he calls fashion, and Tommy Hilfiger, if Lewis could ever do a car launch in his wet dreams, or just dreams even, he would love to do this one. So it was a bit of a parade, it was a bit of a spectacle, and of course Pierre and Daniel kind of not joining in with all the dancing. Anyways, and then they released the car, which was pretty nice. It's black and white, going against Alfa Romeo with obviously red and white, and for us it does get more points, of course, as the reverse of what Jordan said earlier on. So the black and white livery, of course, with the Black Bull incorporating Red Bull's image, I think looks amazing. Now, the big thing for me on this livery is, obviously, it is striking colours. The black and white will definitely stand out on track. They stood out today in Catalonia. I'll tell you when I'm really excited to see it, though, guys. In races like Bahrain and Singapore. Oh, can you imagine what it's going to... And Abu Dhabi as well. Can you imagine what it's going to look like in Singapore? We'll only see, like, bits of the car that are in white. The black actually won't be seen. Or maybe it will be if they put some kind of gloss on it. But anyways, that'll be incredible. So, you know, AlphaTauri, hurry up and get to Singapore. Or Bahrain even, round 2. So it should be really good to see them. Great livery. Of course, Toro Rosso, who it used to be the old team of, were following Red Bull's brand for a number of years. Since it started, obviously, a year after Red Bull in 2006, they were the same colour of Red Bull. They were the same colours as the team and everything about it. It was boring. And then I think it was 2017 or 2018, they then changed to a chrome look. They went to Red Bull Cola, because they still had to be linked with Red Bull, but they changed everything about it. They changed the overalls, they changed the car colours, and it was amazing. It was like they were stepping away from Red Bull. They did that obviously for last year, and again, they haven't gone with anything to do with Red Bull. The only thing that gives the kind of... the only way you know this car is Red Bull related is because it's got the bull on. But apart from that, it's got no connection to Red Bull in the slightest. And that is what I love. They're still sister team, they're still relation teams, of course. I do really like it. And I'm going to give this an 8.5 out of 10, along with Alfa Romeo. So, Mike, brand new team in Formula 1, a brand new kind of concept in Formula 1 now. New livery, it could have gone in any direction. I mean, what was your thought when you saw that car? And also the massive spectacle of the fashion show, which was in what was an airline hangar.
I mean, the car reveal was absolutely bizarre and probably gets the award for most bizarre car launch, certainly this year, and the big show around it was there. And when I saw it, and I still do think, I think it's a nice livery. But here's my rant on it. I hate it. Really? Because AlphaTauri, you know, they've just changed their name to go similar to, obviously we now can't just call Alfa Romeo Alpha because we've got the two Alphas from there. I really liked the kind of direction. There was one of my favourite liveries last year, the kind of light blue, glossy metallic blue and silver included there. And I was really hoping that they were going to go with what they teased in terms of the black and chrome finish. I think that would have been really cool when they'd done something like that. But for me, what AlphaTauri have done is they just look like a special edition Alfa Romeo. They look like, you know, maybe Alfa Romeo have got like a special French Grand Prix. I don't know, I'm trying to think of like a country with kind of blue in. And that's what they look for. And I've spoken about it in my other ones. Like, for me, a livery is an identity that I look at a team and I immediately go, that's that team. And with AlphaTauri, I don't get that at all. I just see a kind of special edition Alfa Romeo, and they had this new platform. They could go in any direction they want. They could really kind of make a statement, and for me, it kind of fell flat. I know a lot of people are big fans of the livery, and it is a nice livery, independent, but in the bigger picture, for me, it falls down, so I give it a 2 out of 10.
Ooh. Oh, wow.
Well, I actually really like it, and this is the sort of thing that I was talking about with Red Bull, in the fact that they could change up and go bold. AlphaTauri have had the rebrand, And then with the livery, they've gone big on it. They've wanted the car to look amazing, and they've hit the nail on the head with it. They probably could have incorporated other things to it, like the chrome aspect that they had last year. That if along the engine cover, if they'd had a little bit of chrome in there just to make things pop, it probably would have taken it up another level. But so far, this has probably been one of my favourites that we've discussed, so I'm going to say 8 out of 10.
Yeah, there was a lot of hype around this particular livery, wasn't there? Because, as we all know, AlphaTauri changed the name. The logo was of course black and white, so we were all thinking that it was going to be incorporated into black and white. But once we saw like the team wear, you kind of got the indication that, all right, it's not going to be black, it's going to be dark blue. So everyone was like a bit disappointed because everyone just immediately thought, oh, it's just going to be last year's livery, but instead of having the Red Bull kind of silver look to it, it's just going to be white instead of like, you know, just the old blue, and of course just plain white. But of course that wasn't the case. They released the car. First glances at it, I absolutely loved it. Really nice. All right, it does look black and white. It does look black and white. So of course, yeah, kind of gets like little marks there, but nah. Certainly, in my opinion, probably I would say it's the nicest livery out of the lot of the cars at the moment. But certainly there are some other liveries out there that are really nice that I'm like a bit hard to choose from at the moment, especially seeing it on track. Because when I seen it on screen, that's nice. When I seen it on track, even better. So I'm gonna give this one I'm gonna give this one the highest mark so far, and I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. So next up is the Williams team. Now, in a way, kind of like AlphaTauri, I was a bit intrigued as the direction as to where Williams are going to go for their livery, because last year's livery, it did not go down well with fans whatsoever. It was, in my opinion, it was absolutely horrible. And even seeing it live at Autosport, it didn't make my feelings towards it any better. I looked at it and I was like, what an ugly piece of equipment. No offense if anybody does like it, I hated it. And again, like Mercedes, Williams were hinting. They were hinting red. And if you do follow Formula E, Venturi, of course, they're sponsored by Rocket, and they've got hinted red on their car. So everyone was thinking, right, okay, Rocket's is going to inherit red onto the Williams car, which everyone started thinking of. I think is it the 1999 Williams when it was red around that time, 98, 99. When all the Williams was red, so of course all the old fans were like, "Oh, a red Williams again. Let's go back to the good old days." But of course it wasn't the case. It was white with hints of red and hints of blue. Straight away, almost immediately once the car was launched, everyone started, reference it to Aquafresh toothpaste. Of course, other toothpaste brands are available, and just loads of memes started kicking about around it, and it was pretty funny. But certainly, it looked very, very nice. However, for me, it just looks like a backmark car. It just looks like a car that is going to finish last. It's looking good in testing, but it's not. In my opinion, it's not anything amazing. I would prefer it if they just stuck to one colour instead of going for red and blue. I would rather be either red or blue. To be fair, if it was just one single colour, like I said, either red or blue, I wouldn't mind. I don't know. I'm not a fan of that's just my opinion. I just don't like the fact of it's like one half it's red and the other half it's blue, and I'm like, I don't know. It just goes down to my estimate. But other than that, it's it is a nice car overall. A lot better than last year's, let's not forget. But I'm going to be giving it, my rating is going to be I'll give it a 6 out of 10, because I seen how good Williams were doing in testing, and I'm on the up with Williams at the moment, so I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Ash, what are you thinking about the Williams' livery? Mm-hmm.
Now, this was the car I was hinting at when I was talking about the McLaren. This has been the one that I really like, especially when you see it in testing. It looks amazing on camera, and the red that they've gone for is the sort of thing that Merc should have done. Merc would have looked amazing with the red that Williams have gone for. And yeah, it's my favourite one. I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm giving it a 9. My favourite livery for the year.
Big call on that one. I do also like, I think generally as a whole, I think when everyone has seen it, I think the general consensus is that it is a better livery than last year. I do like the red and the blue, how it was incorporated. When I saw the vans, I was thinking maybe they were gonna, just... I think I sent out a tweet at the time. I was like going, if they dress up the car like George Russell's helmet, maybe it will drive as well as he does. But it just very much with it. I like the blue trim. I just maybe felt like maybe there should have been a little bit more of blue. For me, I look at it and I go, it's a nice livery, but it doesn't stand out as, I wouldn't look at it and go, oh, that's a Williams from there. It looks a bit like, for me, in terms of the style of livery they've gone for, a bit like the 1999 livery, which was a bit of I think of an explosion of colour that was on the back of the car on that front. I think it's a nice livery. It's a nice race car livery. I'm not
it
sure
looked like
it's a
something
nice
from the 20s
livery. So I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, well, I mean, firstly, I hated the Williams car last year. I thought it looked horrible. It looked like something from the 80s or the 70s. When I say that, I don't mean a Formula 1 car. I mean, like, it just looked like something horrible, like something that your grandma would find in a furniture store, a discount furniture store. It was white, and it went to like light blue. Oh, honestly, it made me feel sick. Looking at it, and that's when I grew on. That's when it looked like a back market team like mad. It looked like a Formula, 3.5. Rather than Formula 1, it does look terrible. I'd rather have the KFC team of Campos from a few years ago. So, yes, so I lost track. So, Williams this year, I agree with Jordan. The red and blue don't really work, and the blue is more of a light blue. It's like kind of like a babyish kind of blue, like a friendlier on the eyes blue. I don't like it, especially looking at it on the onboard. It's on the halo as well. Don't really like that. Mix that with the white. Mix that with, again, the red. If it was more of a bold red, like Alfa Romeo's red, it might work. But it's more of a fading in red. It looks like they've had a paint can of many colours standing next to
George
the car.
has caught many colours.
And it's just exploded over the car like overnight. And then Claire Williams has just gone, that's it. We're not going to change it. That's it. It looks like Joseph's coat of many colours. That's what it looks like. It's just, oh god. Anyways, so no, I'm not a big fan of Williams. I did like it originally when it came out because I was like, breath of fresh air, and I do believe that Williams will be, better than they were last year. Probably still 10th place, but a good haul of points behind them, hopefully. And I'm just praying that George Russell has a great season because obviously we are really behind him. I really do like him as a personality and as a driver. But not a great livery from them. I'm going to say 5 out of 10. It's not terrible, and I think for Williams, I'm giving it 5 just because it's improved massively from last year, and it's not too bad. That's the thing, it's not too bad. Also, the race suits aren't too bad as well. Actually, just on the topic of that, AlphaTauri, forgot to mention, they have white red suits. White race suits, and that is like my dream. That is like my dream. I would design a white race suit. I love that. That is my second best livery of today. So you'll have to find out who is number one. Anyways, so the next team, the penultimate team to release, was Racing Point. Now, Racing Point launched in, I believe it was Austria again, in a bit of a makeshift tent. Now, they teased with some photos beforehand of the car next to one of the big lakes in Austria. The picture was shared. Obviously, I was away, so I was hoping that we didn't have to make a video. At first look, it looked like a Formula 2 car, to be honest. It just looked, with all the pink on it, it was mainly pink and white, but most of it was pink. It did look like a Formula 2 car, and I was thinking, that can't be Formula 1. I think Racing Point do sponsor a team in Formula 2. Obviously, their main kind of comparison is in Porsche. They have a team called BWT Racing Point, which are obviously Racing Point like subsidiary. Anyways, so then they released the car, which, by the way, you've got Lance Stroll and Checo in full pink overalls. Now, I like pink as a colour. When I was at one of my old cycling teams, was a pink team, but that's just too much pink. Throw in a team that's all pink, plus the white kind of stripe of BWT at the back. I'm like, I like BWT, the blue looks nice. Obviously, they've got quite a lot of homely sponsors on there, with Mexico on the rear wing. Obviously, they've got a lot of Canadian sponsors as well. They've got a little maple leaf on the halo, which I think it's like a little bit of, like attention to detail is really high there, and of course their partnership with BWT is amazing. But why, again, like what Jordan said before about the kind of combination of colours, pink and white, that is something that I would not have gone down the line. Pink and black maybe, like that would look quite cool. But pink and white, it looks like one of those, what are they called, like, you know those sweets that you can get, like one part white and one part pink, like the slushies or whatever they're called, smushies or something like that. It looks like one of them. Yeah, it's like a sunburn. It's like half the car's sunburned, and then they've been wearing something, and they've taken that something off like a strap of a bum bag or whatever, and it's white. It just looks, to me, I don't like the Force India look. But of course, all the other Pink Panthers, I do appreciate that they have kept the pink in as well, and obviously standing by their image. The rear wing does look really nice. I think F1E Reviews, Dan, he said that on his video, so shout out to him as well. He said that rear wing is like a kind of chrome material, with obviously Lance Stroll being sponsored by JCB. So with that being added, and of course, as the Pink Panthers standing next to their name of pink, I'm going to say a 4.5 out of 10. Not the worst we've seen, but not great. And obviously the colour scheme, pink and white, it's not, no, it sits in your eyes wrong. So Mike, racing point, and also the overalls as well, just quickly on the overalls, I hate them, they're manky, like pink overalls, I'm sorry, but no, let's just no. The worst thing, if it was pink and white, predominantly white, that would have been even worse. Pink, no. And also the pink halo, I do like that. So Mike, racing point, just, they had pink in the name, Pink Panthers, as we said with Ferrari, they are scarlet red, but how much pink is too much pink? And have they gone past that threshold of too much pink?
I think they probably have. I believe that the BWT is the main sponsor that make it pink, and I believe that every sports car, well, especially across the sports car brand or anything the BWT sponsor, it has to be pink because of their link for supporting breast cancer. I believe that's the kind of heritage to the colour. But for me, this livery was always a bit of a filler livery. I was never going to get too excited about it with the obviously announcement that we've had over the close season that obviously Racing Point will become Aston Martin next year. And I do hope, because they have just signed a new extension to the BWT sponsorship, that there is an agreement in place that with Aston Martin that they just bring racing green and the pink goes. For me, it's you know, they make pink look good. It's probably, yeah, for me this year it's a bit more pink, it's a bit less blue. It's a 5 out of 10 for me. It's a bit of a nothing livery on that front, but I am desperately hoping for the racing green next year.
I agree with Mike. I'm looking forward to next year's livery more than anything with this one. It doesn't really do anything
kind of same
for
with
me.
Like the Red Bull livery. I think I'm just going to keep it short and sweet. I'm just going to give it a plain and simple.
I'm going to go
5 out of 10 if I'm totally honest. I mean,
one that I like.
I didn't like last year's because of the
not really
blue.
much
I mean,
else to
there was
say on
much
it.
by Sports Pacer, but the blue was just in the way. And I'm like, the whole pink and blue thing, it just didn't work. I think pink and white kind of work. Yeah, I think white goes with. I think white or black with any other colour goes with anything. So, but having like that kind of blue, dark blue and pink, I was like, nah, I didn't like it at all. However, I mean, like, yeah, it's just pink. Like, of course it was going to be pink. We all knew it was going to be pink. We're hoping that it's not going to be pink next year because, like everybody else, I want that racing green back in Formula One. Hopefully with Aston Martin, please, Aston Martin, please. I'm on my knees here, please. I want it back, please. But one thing I'm going to say about the car, though, is that, of course, on the engine cover, you've got the BWT logo. It's going upwards. Guys, please change it. It's driving me insane. I absolutely hate that. All I want to do, right, every time I see it, I just want to, I don't know, like, crop it a bit and then just turn it so that it's going downwards, like crosswards, like, you know what I mean, like the other way basically, so it's going like down the car, not across the car. And it just, what are you doing? Think about it. Anyways, before we start on another like an hour type of rant, last but certainly not least is Renault. Now Renault at time of recording haven't released their full livery yet, but you can get an inkling as to what they're going to be. Now, over on our Twitter, shout out as well to one of your compatriots, F1 Fanatics Mark, sent us a couple of photos of the new Renault in its traditional livery, not its testing livery. Renault, of course, rocked up, released some snippets of the new car in its testing livery I think it was about a week ago now actually. Didn't show the full car, which everyone was like, why not? That's a bit weird. I'm surprised that they didn't put the 2020 livery on the 2019 car. But when I seen the pictures that Mark sent us, it's the exact same. It really is the exact same. It's just the thinner front nose, which I'm a bit like, I'll get used to it. But other than that, I like last year's livery. I did like the Renault livery, but of course they're going to be keeping it the same. So pretty much like a number of other teams, if it's not broke, what's the point in fixing it? So therefore, just keep it the same. The black livery, the testing livery, I do like it. Of course, they are going to revert back to the traditional colours. So for that, I'm just going to give it off the actual car. What's going to be? I'm just going to give it a 6. I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. I would like it to be more black with like a hint of yellow. I think that could work, but of course that isn't going to be the case. It's just going to be bits of course more yellow with bits of black, like we've seen last year. Pretty much the exact same, but apart from it's just going to be a different nose and of course different components to the car. Ash, Renault, are you liking? Well, first of all, testing livery. What do you think of it? And when they inevitably bring back the old livery onto the car, what's your thoughts on that?
With testing liveries, I'm of the opinion if you're gonna do a special livery for testing, go bold like Red Bull did with the zebra camouflage thing that they did last year. This for a Renault, it looks boring. It's black with some white lines on it more than anything. It's nothing special. So if I was doing testing livery, I'd say like 2, 3 because it's just pointless having that. And the Renault livery itself, I'm not a fan. I don't think it flows nicely. What would be best for the Renault would be either going all black or all yellow and then doing the detailing in the opposite colour. Mm-hmm. So they could go really out there and go full yellow and then have the black detailing on it, or what would look the better option would be all black with yellow accents on it to just try and make it stand out. I'm gonna say 5 because they're not really changing much. That's what I've given Merc, Ferrari and Red Bull when they haven't really changed, so I'm gonna stick with that and say 5 for the Renault on it.
I think this is probably the third rendition of Renault liveries we've seen. Obviously there was those kind of pictures that we saw, and it to me looked like a matte kind of metallic grey, which looked quite cool. Then obviously those pictures that Mark put out, well he gave to you guys to share on Twitter, those things, it does pretty much look like last year. I think out of the new Renault since 2016, it's probably the best rendition of it. I wasn't a fan of the kind of darker yellow. It was a very ugly yellow in the kind of Jolyon Palmer days and Nico Hulkenberg. I wasn't a big fan of that. So I think the brighter yellow with the black, it stands out a little bit more to me. I think there were kind of maybe hints that it might have been going yellow and white, maybe a throwback to their early 1980s, back when Alain Prost was driving for them. I think that would have been a very interesting thing, maybe something they're thinking about for 2021, which might be a good standout and certainly make a brand for Renault. But yeah, I think I'm going to give this 6 out of 10 for the livery, because I think it's pretty much going to be the same. I prefer it out of those, but it's not a standout livery for me.
See, well, I think it's a standout livery for sure. The first thing I want to say, which I've been kind of a bit confused about, where I've been seeing on Twitter, everyone says Renault is yellow, and I'm like, they're not really. You think about when Renault was in Formula 1 before, it was predominantly black as well. They threw in other colours as well, and then the return in the early 2000s, they had a blue car as well, with the fading in, obviously, of the Spanish tech company, the Telefonia or something. Anyways, but it was more
Telefonica, I think it was.
Of yellow, but it was blue, and it was predominantly black, back in like the 80s and the 90s and stuff. So for people to say Renault is yellow, I'm like, it's not set in stone that they have to be yellow. Obviously they've tested basically those two colours, yellow and black, before that. If you remember last year, they had when they first came into Formula 1, when they first returned back into Formula 1 a few years ago, they had a black car and yellow overalls, and then they reverted all the way back in when they went to Melbourne. If you remember, the car was on that float going across that little lake where they do the race around, and obviously they reverted back. So they've always kind of tinkered about with those two colours. And I liked firstly, I think yellow overalls make the drivers look like bananas. Kind of obviously the reverse of what the car is. But the yellow car, I've always wondered, why don't they just change that? And of course they brought out the black, before in special liveries, and they brought out this livery. And from the photos that we saw in Paris, it did look great. But I did think it might have been a testing livery. The livery that's on the car at the moment, so I mean that car is amazing. So firstly, of course, we're not talking about the actual car changes, but I would say the biggest car change out of them all for that front nose. It is amazing. I absolutely love it. To me, it reminds me of an IndyCar. I don't really follow IndyCar, but from the photos I see of an IndyCar car, it looks like an IndyCar. It looks amazing. I love that that front nose. It looks amazing. I don't know why I'm calling it front nose, just a nose, because you don't have a rear nose, do you? Anyways, so it does look great. You've got the white text for Renault. You've got obviously for example, Daniel Ricciardo's. You've got the 3 and then 31 for Esteban Ocon in that kind of yellow/gold tint. And just having an all-black car looks amazing. They've got the French flag at the front, which I do wish would be a little bit bigger. Renault are French, be proud of that. But I absolutely love the car now. I know Jordan's just said it is a testing livery. It's not confirmed, but they're probably going to revert back to yellow for Melbourne, which will obviously, I'll be very upset about. But for now, for the remaining few days we have left of for the remaining 3 days we have left of Test 2, I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10, and I'm going to say it's the best livery I've seen so far. But of course, check in with me before Melbourne to see if they reverted back to the yellow and see what I say then. And of course, as I've just said, the AlphaTauri is my second favourite. That's on standby. If Renault goes back to yellow, that will become first. But as I say, I absolutely love the black Renault. I think it looks really good. And also as well, of course, Danny Rick just gone out there in an interview, all yellow. The team, the bus and all that are all yellow. And for that kind of comparison of colours, like yellow off-track and yellow race suits and all that stuff, and then a black car, I think would work amazing. They've found 2 great colours that work, and I hope they keep the black car. And for what we've seen, it is my favourite livery. I absolutely love the black. Anyways, so that is the end of the episode, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, we've all given our ratings out of 10 and our favourite liveries. And then yes, leave it down in the comment section below about your favourite livery as well. Obviously, if you want to grade all of them out of 10, tell us which one's your favourite. Tell us which one you don't like. Obviously, why. We love reading the comments, getting interactive as well. And obviously, the best comments from this video we'll read out in our next F1 debate show next week, which actually is F1 debate show episode 150. So we've been going all that long. Wow. Ooh. Thank you very much to Mike and Ash from F1 Fanatics for being on just yet another episode that they have been on with us today. It's been absolutely great, guys. Have you enjoyed yourselves?
Yeah, had an absolutely brilliant time, guys. Always enjoy it, kind of having a chat, and it was really interesting actually seeing the variation in ratings, and this is what it will be. Some people might love a certain livery, and other people might absolutely hate it, although I feel like I'm massively in the minority with the AlphaTauri one. But that was for me a different one. But guys, thank you so much, and thank you always for kind of reaching out for us to coming on. Guys, if you are watching around here and you haven't already subbed to these guys, please do sub to these guys' channels. They put out such great content at Formula 1. 2 great lads, always create a great discussion, and that's what F1's about. We love watching it, we love talking about it, and these guys do a great job in terms of putting out great content for you guys to enjoy. So definitely support them and help them out. And congratulations on 150 on the F1 debate show.
Thank you very much, Mike. Thank you very much for those kind words. It is great to talk to you as well. Most of those things as well for you guys. You're just 2 guys, love talking about Formula 1. I remember when we first found your channel, Jordan found it, and he just said that you are basically us. We are just 2 lads on each channel, just like talking about cars going around in circles. Guys, you're making incredible progress. We couldn't be happier. And of course, as Mike said there, guys, if you haven't checked out F1 Fanatics' channel, please go over and check some of their videos out. They do incredible coverage as well. They have other guys behind the scenes. They have actually one down in Australia, so they're actually one of the only channels I know which has a guy on both hemispheres that do F1 Fanatics. Amazing channel. You'll be hearing so much more about them in the future. Hopefully we can get some more collaborations on the go. Anyways guys, but that is the end of the episode. Thank you very much for watching. Winter testing's on at the moment. I hope you're really enjoying it. We've got some great stuff packed for the end of winter testing and of course the 2020 season. Hope to see you guys with us throughout the season, and until next time, we'll see you later.
See you later, guys.